Hey guys, I'm Clint Flaywu. Welcome back to another Division video, and today I want to give you my thoughts and impressions on the Division 2 private beta, which was last weekend. I had a really good time playing the game. There's so much new elements to the product, which is really good. PvE has gone up about 5 notches for me. I really enjoyed my time in PvE. PvP is a slightly different matter, which we'll talk about throughout the course of this video, but I want to talk about the pros of PvE, and to be honest, there's so many to talk about because the game felt really polished when it comes to the functionality of the builds, the specializations. I felt they felt really strong, and given once we start to min-max our builds, it will feel even better. The NPCs were on point. Graphically, it was astounding. I was very impressed by what I played. From the PvE side of things, it was really good. So, storyline, hopefully they evolve on the storyline, and it's better and more in depth than the first one. I think it can be. That they've promised us 40 hours of campaign, which is really good. And 40 hours campaign, again, that's usually meted and stretched out a little bit. So you're looking, I'm going to say 30-35 if you do everything. I'll be honest with you, and that's where I'm going to be for the first portion of my time within Division 2. It's going to be leveling up and ensuring I'm getting nice gear and getting a good feel of the game, because it's turned into a cover-based shooter, which is what the game should have been all along. However, now we're on the right path, which is really good. So, the weapons felt superb. The feeling, the sound, it felt like you were holding an M60. Kudos to Massive. I think they've put a lot of time and work into this part of the game, and it already is in a good place from the Division 1. It has gone up a couple of notches and it feels very good. The only thing I didn't like was the ADS on a sniper. The sway was all over the shop. I think that's something hopefully can be fixed for launch. I'm sure it can be. Fingers crossed it is, because it was highly frustrating rolling with a sniper with a scope, because it wasn't viable. So I consistently used it without a scope. Now, obviously the weapons feel good and they sound good, and it felt like weapon diversity is going to be a huge factor in the Division 2. And in the first game, it felt like if you hadn't got a house in PvP, you're already at a disadvantage. I feel with this game in PvE and PvP, there's so many different weapon archetypes which are equally strong. I think some slightly more than others, i.e. shotgun and snipers, but ultimately it felt on point. And kudos again to Massive to bringing up to speed LMGs, which again a highly underused weapon in the Division 1, and hopefully now it has that viability to be quite powerful in the sequel. NPCs, I felt they were on point. I think they were really good. Yeah, they did feel sometimes a bit of a carbon copy from the first, but with a slightly different animation. But in all honesty, they felt very good and different as well. The rushes felt powerful. Once they had you, they had you. I like that challenging context, and something that is highly needed. Again, if I'm going to grind gear, when I earn that gear, I want to feel privileged. I want to know that I've really earned that gear, as opposed to you're just given 42 greens from the off. I'm not all about that. I want to earn every cent of single gear and weapon possible. And I did feel like once playing the game, there was an abundance of loot thrown our way. I think that needs to be dialed back a notch. So again, the grind is worth it. Now, we only got a sneak peep of the specializations in the invaded mission. I went for the survivalist, which I thought was decent in all honesty. Could be better, could be stronger. I had 6 arrows, 6 part of the crossbow build. I was a little bit disappointed. I wanted more ammo, so once he'd pop a few off, he's like, really, this is really cool, let's do a bit more. And in all honesty, I wanted a shitload more of ammo for my special weapon. And hopefully, as the game progresses and it comes out, once it gets to that end game content, there's a way to pick up this specialization ammo. Because the content was really difficult at a point where we had basically just hit 30 builds. So I'm hoping that they include some kind of it would be a perk or a skill or whatever that gives you more specialist ammo, because that would be perfect. Solo and team play was on point. I feel honestly that if you want to play this game solo, you'll still have a silly amount of fun in the game, which is how the game should be. But ultimately, as a team and as a group, and even more importantly, as a clan, you have so much more to do. And that, again, kudos to Massive. They're absolutely on point with that. And to have the clan implementation, I'll be doing my own clan with the guys I'm part of the community of, and I can't wait to play with some of those guys in there. And it's going to be brilliant. It'll be PvP, PvE, raids as well. So there's so much good happening in the Division 2 that I cannot wait to start the grind. Cannot wait. However, there was a few little minor problems that did run into in the Division 2 beta, and ultimately it was bugs that I feel that can be fixed and they should be fixed come even the open beta, whether it be audio bugs or games glitching, deltas, sound cutting out, the vibration of the pad, which was insane. My headset was vibrating at one stage. It was about to take off. I didn't know what the hell was going on, but ultimately it felt very, very good. I mean, overlooking those issues, I felt, yeah, that's okay. There's a few niggly things that really did get on my goat. The first thing is we're going to look at the user interface. The user interface isn't as strong as it should be. It's definitely not user-friendly as the Division 1. It's been dialed back a bit. And ultimately, I think that's because of the more RPG elements in the game. They're trying to push more in, and that's probably the best they have it. I thought it was a bit clunky and responsive, as well as adding weapon mods and attachments. It did just feel very out of sync. It didn't feel right, in all honesty. And hopefully, again, it's something they look at and they patch and they tweak, because it's highly annoying. Even when you're looking at your gear, if you've got, for example, 4 chest pieces, you go into chest pieces, it's difficult to ascertain which one's equipped, which should never be the case. There should be a massive icon that shows you which is equipped. Again, minor details that hopefully are ironed out come the launch of the game or in a slightly future update. If we're going to talk about the DZ, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. However, I thought it was extremely challenging as a solo player. And going into the servers I went into for the 6-7 hours I spent in the DZ, I was hit always with groups of 4, and there was 2 groups of 4 consistently in every server I went into. And again, if there's 2 groups of 4, that means there's 4 more players that are going to be in your dark zone. And I did see 1 or 2 of solo players, so that's just telling me that there's 2 groups of 4 and 4 solos, which again, it's difficult to compete now because the power of armor and health, which is, again, I feel once that armor goes, your health bar is gone in a matter of a millisecond, which is frustrating. So the health needs to be cranked up a notch, and the armor just took down a little bit of a notch, just to make sure that time of kill is on point, because at the minute it's a little bit off, in my opinion. But I just want to compete. I want to compete against other PvPers in a group of 4. As a solo, it is nigh on impossible because of the time to kill. And I'm not saying bring back Nomad or Predmark. I do not want to see that in the Division 2 whatsoever. They cannot be in there. However, I would like to see some kind of refinement to make it viable for solo DZers that go in there and have a chance against a group of 2 or 3 or even a 4. But at the minute, it's not viable, and it makes it not fun. And I'm not a farmer. I farm players. I hunt rogues. And to be honest, it's going to be a very difficult ball game, given there's going to be 2 groups of 4 in your server every time. So that's how it was in the beta. Hopefully that's switched around, so there's more solos in the DZ. So if you're going to compete, you're competing against 1s and 2s as opposed to 3s and 4s. Touch wood. The one thing that did irritate me was going rogue. You'd have to press and hold the start button. Not a genius idea, in my opinion. It's something that I would like to see altered in the future. I doubt it will be, in all fairness. I'm no one, in all honesty. So just something that I would like to take into consideration. There's plenty of different, obviously, button presses. The start button it took me about 5 minutes to work it out what I was doing, in all honesty. But when I did, it's like, yeah, okay, I don't like it, but I'll have to get used to it, in all honesty. I found it difficult to ascertain rogue and non-rogue players in the Dark Zone. Within that 10 meter radius, there was no names but above them, so it was difficult to work out who's who. And again, that's just a basic fundamental error that hopefully is addressed, because again, there's many times when I saw rogue players or I was rogue, and other players didn't know that I was rogue, to the point where I killed the guy when I was rogue. He just stood there, he messaged me, and says, I didn't even know you were rogue, I couldn't tell. And that's something that's quite basic and needs to be ironed out quite quickly, because it's just a silly error, in all fairness. I want it to be as visible as possible, given it's so unforgiving. And hopefully it's something that's executed quite quickly as well, because that would be really, really good. Little things like loadouts, which are key to the game, they were squirreled away in a different sub-menu, a little bit awkward. Agents calling for help, again, something else which is talking about the user interface, which is just weird. It's hidden away, and I don't want it to be hidden away. If you get that prompt to say there's an agent, he needs your help, whether it be the DZ or whether it be by the Jefferson Trade Center, he wants you to join his squad, I want there to be a button press. Yep, one button and you're in, you're there as quickly as that. And I don't want to go into this menu, then another menu, and then say yes. Let's just press X and hold it, you're there. That would be ideal, but at the minute, it just needs tweaking, it needs fixing, because it's just awkward. And I don't want the game to feel awkward, because I love the game. There's so much potential. And again, these little issues that need ironing out, in my opinion, But again, if you disagree, please let me know in the comments box. 12 players in the DZ, going back to that point, I would raise it to 16. If that's possible. Again, I'm not a techie, I'm not Cody, but I will say that having 12 in the Dark Zone is it's not enough. It's not enough, especially if there's going to be groups in there as well. Give us a fighting chance, make it 16, just to populate the DZ a bit more, because at times it was completely sparse. You would have, again, at a 6-7 hours I was in the Dark Zone, 99% of that time, you'd have two groups, one in the North Extraction, one in the South, and that's where they would be camped. It's as simple as that. And you'd have a couple of solos who were just going through the landmarks, trying to get extra loot, same as myself. Because as soon as you go to these extractions, you'll be taken down. You wouldn't have a chance. You'd have one guy with a sniper, and then one guy with an LMG, and you just kind of get close to them. Which makes it just non-competitive in my opinion. So there needs to be more players in the Dark Zone to have more of a chance to compete, in my opinion, again. Same as, again, talking about the Dark Zone and talk about extracting. Did anyone else feel that the DC stash is just weird? The delivery menu, what's that all about? It should just go in your stash, take it out, there you go. I just didn't feel comfortable. It was just a weird addition to it, in all honesty. Same as in the DZ and Skirmish. The skills felt really clunky and difficult to execute. How many times when you'd point the Seeker Mine where you wanted to go and what player, it would not happen. It just really cheesed me off, in all honesty, to the point where I wouldn't use a Seeker Mine, I'd use a turret. And again, the animation, the 3-second animation, oh Jesus, it felt like an eternity just to deploy turret. And again, I know it's a beta, and I know things may change, but ultimately that's something I would like to see fixed. Because in the Division 1, I felt it was nigh on perfect. In Division 2, it just felt too clunky, in all honesty, and it's something that needed a little bit of tweaking to make sure that it's viable. And the rest of the skills, I mean, again, I don't know if, I'm guessing that cooldown reduction is going to be a huge element in the Division 2, and I hope it is, in all fairness, because it will give that endless build potential. But again, I just feel that the skills didn't feel powerful enough, or they were OP like the Seeker Mine. When it finally did hit, it was one shot. And I've seen that happen to players and NPCs, but it was so inconsistent. I mean, I don't know how you guys felt. It was just frustrating to use a Seeker Mine. You know what I mean? I just felt it wasn't the go-to weapon for me. Weapon skill. It was just really annoying. Just like opening caches. I mean, again, you spend 3 seconds to open a cache, and then it's like, you sure you want to open that cache? You wouldn't have pressed the button for 3 seconds. You know what I mean? It's highly, highly annoying. Little things like this just put a little dampener, a little bit of a sour experience. Given the umpteen deltas I had as well on Thursday and Friday, Sunday weren't too bad in all essence, but Thursday, Friday were just a write-off. You know, I was trying to produce as much content as possible, and all I kept getting was delta, 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 to the point where I was thinking, screw this, I cannot do it, I cannot do it anymore. You know, and I just feel that once those are fixed, and you know, a few of the things, you know, which I've mentioned in this video, hopefully if they're fine-tuned, then I'll be in a good place. I'll be a lot happier. Armor, yeah, that's something that needs to be looked at. Is it right where it's at? And I feel it's there, close. It's there or thereabouts. It needs a little tweak. I think health needs a 10% increase, and I think armor just needs a tad taking off. And again, armors, you now have to stack that on your gear once you start getting to level 10, I'm guessing. So there's endless options, and I can't wait. And again, I've listed quite a few niggles and annoyances. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I love the game. I'm gonna pick it up day one, and I'll be putting out loads and loads of content for this game. However, I just want these little issues, the bugs that were in the Division 1, crazy, were in Division 1 that seem to be in Division 2 as well. And again, I think once they're fine-tuned, like the movement, it's a little bit sharper, I'll be in a good place. And I'm really excited about the game. I think it's gone down the right avenue. I think they've appealed to many different sets of players. You know, the hardcore will enjoy it ultimately, and new players, I think, if once they get into it, you know, if they're not keen on Anthem, then you look in Division 2's a perfect route to take down. I think there's, you know, the grind, the 40-hour campaign. There's this, you can get loot everywhere. Then you got the fact of raids in a couple of months. So there's so much it has to offer. So I think it's a great purchase. But again, things need to be tweaked, and if they're tweaked, you've got a game with the year on your hands. It can be that good. It just needs a tweak, and if it does, I'm in a good place and I'm happy. But guys, what I would like to know are your thoughts. Drop your thoughts and comments in the comments box. I'd like to know what you think about the beta. Did you enjoy it? What would you change? What elements of the beta you thought were on point? I thought there was quite a lot on point. The PvE was immense. PvP needs a tweak. But all in all, I loved it, and I'm looking forward to the game coming out to produce loads of content for you guys. And I have loads planned as well, which is great. But guys, let me know. If you can, please like this video. That means a lot to me personally. And if you subscribe, you will see a lot more Division content, and you will see more regular content as the Division 2 launches. Guys, I'll see you in the next one.